Yes, 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 yes. Hello and welcome to this lesson called Four Breaths to Freedom. This video series will teach you how to use your breathing to create a sense of freedom on all levels of your being. I'm sure if you're watching this, you've experienced stress in your life. You've had triggers come up for you. Maybe you've had anxious thoughts. Maybe you've felt overwhelmed by having too many to dos and what ifs and not enough time to address them all. Maybe you felt overwhelmed. Maybe you felt tension in your body, haven't you? I mean, we've all felt physical tension in our body. And you've had uncomfortable emotions before: sadness, grief, anxiety, anger, frustration. These kinds of bad feelings come up. And there's a good chance that you've probably had all of these things happen at a time when you still had to be present with your tasks, present with your kids, present with your partner or your wife, and present with your work, your career. You've probably had all of these experiences before, and they've probably all come up at times which are inconvenient, didn't they? Well, with this technique that I'm going to teach you, these types of situations, when they come up, you'll be able to guide yourself into an experience of peaceful freedom with only four breaths. And with enough practice of each of the breaths, you'll be able to stack them so that you can reach the experience of a peaceful, expanded state of freedom with only one breath, even during your most challenging times. Now, I've been working with people like you for over 20 years now, helping them to eliminate pain, tension, stress from their body, from their lives, from their beings on all levels. And through my own journey of self healing and discovery, as well as through helping countless other people like you, I've realized that healing and resilience has to happen through every level of a person: physical body, the mental, and the emotional, and the spiritual, and all of it has to be brought into harmony in order for somebody to heal and move through and build this resilience that we're talking about. And it doesn't have to take a lot of time, it can happen quick. And the breath can be a very powerful tool that is done both consciously and unconsciously. And through using your breath to direct your awareness, you can control all the systems of your body and control the deeper parts of your mind. Because the breath can affect your circulatory system, it can affect your immune system, your musculoskeletal system, your endocrine system, your nervous system, which is another word for your mind, and it can help to bring all of these systems to balance and either upregulate or downregulate depending on how you're using the breath. And in order for this four breath practice to work best for you, to eliminate stress, anxiety, overwhelm in the moment, so that you don't have to leave to recover, but you can actually just use the breath to bring yourself back to a regulated state, to a peaceful state, to a freedom state, you need to be able to train something called your interoception, which is your ability to recognize the first sign of stress, your ability to feel inside your body so you can spot stress when it first happens. And there's a specific way to train this without years of meditation or years of struggle or years of mindfulness. And each of the four breaths that I'm going to share with you have their own degree of awareness necessary to execute them correctly. And you may find that some of the breaths are easier for you than others. I recommend that you practice each one of the four breaths on your own in a quiet place where you can be undisturbed until you become proficient in that breath. And then once you become proficient in it and you can do it fairly easily, then you can take it out into your life and test it in different situations. Or you can start using them many times throughout the day and to see how this practice works for you. And start with one at a time and then add in all the other breaths one at a time so that you can start to stack them until you get to that four breath series that can help to clear all levels of your being. And like I said, because breathing can be done both consciously and unconsciously, this is why you can learn to use your breath to control your unconscious processes. Because you do have an unconscious mind. Inside your mind, there's the conscious part, the unconscious part. The unconscious part is constantly regulating your breathing, unless you're conscious of it. Also regulating your heartbeat, your blood pressure, your physical tension, your emotional state, these kinds of things. And it's also doing threat recognition on a subtle unconscious level. And when you unconsciously recognize a threat, that's what we call stress. And that's when the cascade of negative effects of tension, of hormones, of elevated blood pressure, of elevated heart rate, all of these things kind of cascade during these unconscious periods. And so the more you can use your breath, the more you can start to connect the dots and become more conscious and learn how to control those unconscious processes. And even some of the unconscious processes like beliefs, like values, like personality structures, like these other things that can be limiting in your life, you can learn how to control them the deeper you go inside to actually start to learn to use this tool of the breath to direct your awareness and to direct your intention and to direct your healing towards more balance, more peace, and more freedom. Now, a few technical points to go into about the breaths themselves before we go into each of the individual breaths. Each breath shall be done in through the nose and out through the mouth. Now, these breaths, the cycles, the way that I'm going to describe them, they're all inspired by the breathing practices that come from the martial art that I practice, which is an ancient Russian warrior tradition in itself with pretty profound effects. But each of the breaths should be done in the nose, out the mouth. So there's many reasons for this. One reason being that when you breathe in the nose and out the mouth, you're actually like cleaning out the mind and calming the brain, but also in a way it cools the brain. By breathing in the nose, you're actually breathing oxygen, air is coming into through the skull, and that helps to cool down the brain. So that's one reason. Another reason is that we equate the inhale with the sympathetic nervous system, or tension, because it takes tension to inhale, right? It takes physical tension, and the exhale with the parasympathetic nervous system, or the relax, the rest and digest part of the nervous system. And that's because you need to relax in order to exhale. So you want the tension part of your breath to be restricted in a way, so you're not over breathing, but the relaxed part of your breath to be totally free and unhindered in any way. So each breath you'll be doing in the nose, out the mouth. And that's another thing I want to mention, is that each of the breaths should be nice and smooth. Smooth inhale through the nose, nice and full, and smooth exhale through the mouth, nice and relaxed. And try to minimize any pause in between the inhale and exhale. You kind of want it to be like a pendulum, nicely flowing from the inhale, and then as soon as the inhale calmly ends, then just let it slide nice into the exhale all the way to the other side. Each breath will take a certain level of awareness and a certain level of practice to get proficient at. You can probably learn each breath within a few minutes, but the best way to master it is by practicing it consistently. So I recommend, again, doing each video one at a time, practicing that breath individually for 10-15 minutes until, or even less or even more, depending on how sensitive you are, how long it takes for you to get that breath down, and then moving on to practicing them in your day-to-day life. And once you have each breath down, then you start to stack them one after the other until you can get that 4 breaths and really guide yourself into that experience of deep, peaceful freedom with only 4 breaths.